Number 8 comes from Kevin Fath. He posted in our forum. He's on our gravel intermediate plan, and he is also another big fan of ours. And he says, Coach Frank and Jackson made a nice video on pacing a gravel race back in 2019, but I'm wondering if they can revisit the topic with a little more detail. I have my first gravel race ever coming up May 1st. What are some ways that I can use my training experiences and power meter to put together a plan for race day? Are there some ways that I can be intentional in my upcoming gravel simulation rides to test out some pacing strategies? What can I take away from my ongoing VO2 max intervals to apply on race day? And how might this differ for a longer event or one with a different elevation profile?
Okay, great question. And because this is your first gravel race, I'm going to tell you this. Go back and listen to our Gravel Skills podcast, because I cover really what's going to happen in the first hour of the race. And hate to say it, you're not going to look at your power meter at all. There's a lot going on. You need to keep your eyes on the road. You need to keep your eyes on the wheels in front of you. What's going on in the pack? What sort of terrain you're about to roll over, maneuvering your bike handling. Do not be looking at your power meter. That's what you look at after the race. So same thing with VO2 max. Whatever you've done in VO2 max intervals, literally irrelevant on race day, because you're just trying to like ride with the pack and pace yourself by feel, not by power. But I get this question a lot. When you're doing your simulation rides, I would encourage you to do them by feel. If you're doing a 5-hour simulation ride, you need to choose a pace at which you can sustain for 5 hours. So that's going to be, and I have this conversation with athletes all the time. They ask me, Coach, what power should I do to pace myself for my 5-hour unbound gravel? And it's like, okay, let's start. Remember in the Gravel Unbound podcast with Pete Stetna, he finished with a normalized power of 70% of his threshold. So if you're thinking try to maintain 85% to do your gravel race, don't do that. You're gonna die 1,000 deaths.
You're gonna use all of your glycogen the first hour. You're gonna be.
But my advice to you: don't think of it in terms of power. Hold wheels, ride by feel, and approach your first gravel race that way. But listen to that podcast, because I go into much more detail. Don't be looking at your power. Don't be that guy. And the same thing goes in virtually any race. No racer is really looking at their power. Mm-mm. That may be like popularized when you're looking at like the Tour de France, and riders are like, doing climbs by power. They're not. They're doing it by feel. And maybe they are looking at their watts just for that power, like that positive feedback. Forget everything I just said when it comes to a time trial. That's a completely different animal. But and then now you're like, but I thought you said a gravel race was like a time trial, and it is. But you're with other people
before they can even
and
get
you need to hang in the pack, and that's your primary. And you also need not to slam a rock or blah blah blah. So because it's your first race, I would just keep your eyes up, have fun. And then nerd out on your power data when you get home.
Yeah, I don't even look at my heart rate when I race, because it's all over the place.
I mean,
it's distracting.
It's going to be high, or you probably know your intensity.
Yeah.
Yeah.